Mürren rises like a whisper atop the cliffs, a village that seems to rest between sky and abyss, balanced on the silent edge of the Bernese mountains. The morning light has yet to decide between blue and gold as it brushes the rooftops, darkened by time. The deep valley below remains asleep, hidden beneath a veil of mist that moves slowly, as if breathing. Here, the wind is the first narrator. It slips between the houses, traces the wooden walls, glides along the sharp edges of the cliffs, carrying with it the cold scent of ancient snow. Mürren is a world within the world, isolated yet pulsing, small yet vast in meaning. Every sound arrives filtered by vertical distance, the echo of a far-off waterfall, the murmur of ice cracking under the sun, the creak of a chalet door opening to another day. Nothing here happens in haste. The mountains dictate time, the weather shapes the mood, and silence is the language everyone understands. In this austere and sublime setting, life finds depth. The landscape is not a backdrop, it is a presence, a guide, a guardian. And it is in this suspended territory that our story begins.
When the sun finally rises behind the snow-capped ridges, Mürren awakens in silence, as if the light were a gentle invitation to return to motion. The mist rising from the Lauterbrunnen Valley slowly dissolves, revealing the steep walls of the valley and the damp chalet rooftops still tinted blue. The air is cold, clean, almost crystalline. Each breath seems to bring anyone walking here closer to the very essence of the mountain. The first sounds are delicate, the distant chime of cowbells echoing along the slopes, the drag of boots over wooden balconies, the soft thud of a door opening to let in the austere scent of the alpine dawn. A calm flow of light moves down the narrow streets, illuminating darkened wooden planks, small windows decorated with geraniums that endure the cold, and stairways leading into the ancestral routines of the villagers. Up above, on the plateau that commands the horizon, the Eiger, the Mönch, and the Jungfrau watch everything with the patience of those who have already witnessed centuries of simple, profound lives. The village breathes slowly. The day begins not with urgency, but with presence, as if every human gesture were a natural part of the landscape.
In Mürren, work is not a race, but a continuous dialogue with the mountain. Morning advances slowly as shepherds guide their small herds across the green terraces that border the cliff. The animals' footsteps echo softly, and the rhythmic sound of their bells blends with the wind rising from the valley. The shepherds' gestures are ancient, inherited from generations who learned to read the weather, the soil, the silence, and to respect every shift in the sky. Along the edges of the houses, farmers tend compact gardens protected by stone walls that hold the fertile soil amid the challenging altitude. There grow aromatic herbs, small roots, leaves that withstand the cold, everything the mountain allows. Higher up, artisans work the wood taken from nearby forests, planks that become doors, utensils, repairs for chalets that carry time on every surface. There is also the woodcutter bringing down carefully cut logs, the woman preparing dairy products in the small family cheese rooms, the carpenter who knows every type of fiber in alpine wood. Nothing is done in excess. Everything is done out of need, continuity, and tradition. Work here is ritual, presence, a direct bond with the land that sustains the village.
Mürren's architecture seems to have been shaped by the alpine wind itself, as if each chalet had been slowly carved by the passing of the seasons. The houses, their wood darkened by sun and snow, rest on stone bases that hold centuries of quiet stories. The facades bear the marks of time, sturdy beams, boards polished by persistent cold, small windows that filter the light and keep it soft, shielding the interiors from the severity of winter. The flowered balconies, an almost ritual hallmark of alpine culture, bring a touch of color to the austere scenery. Geraniums, edelweiss tended with devotion, small boxes of carved wood. Every detail reveals the intimate relationship between resident and mountain. They're not ornaments, they are signs of care, resilience, and identity. Walking through the village is like crossing living pages of local history. On many chalets, old inscriptions reveal dates, family names that have inhabited the place for generations, and protective symbols against avalanches and storms. Architecture here does not aim to impress, it aims to exist. It is construction that converses with the climate, that shelters and protects, that endures because it respects the environment around it. And so, between stone, wood, and memory, Mürren preserves its soul. A village where the past is not a distant recollection, but a constant presence in daily life.
In Mürren, food is born of necessity, altitude, and the wisdom inherited from generations who learned to live with what the mountain offers. In the chalets, the aroma of fresh bread mingles with the cold air that slips in through narrow windows. Each batch is small, meant to last, to nourish, to accompany long days of work on steep slopes. The bread is dense, dark, made from rustic flours that withstand the alpine climate. The cheeses, the region's quiet pride, mature in cool rooms where the natural temperature of the stone ensures the ideal point. These are cheeses that carry the flavor of the high pastures, of alpine herbs the herds find only during the brief summer. Golden butters, cured meats hanging from indoor racks, jams made from wild berries gathered along the trail edges complete the village's simple, abundant table. The gardens, small and protected by stone walls, produce only the essentials: hardy potatoes, short carrots, compact cabbages. Nothing is wasted. Everything has purpose. Self-sufficiency here is less an ideal than a natural way of existing, a cycle that unites climate, work, food, and memory. To sit at a table in Mürren is to take part in a tradition that celebrates the mountain and the community, where each meal is a direct connection to the land that sustains the village.
In Mürren, the year is not divided by dates, but by the deep rhythm of the mountains. Winter arrives first with silence. A white layer covers rooftops, trails, and forests, muffling sounds and inviting the village into retreat. Houses glow with small golden lights, and chimney smoke rises into the crystalline air. It is a time of inwardness, slow work, maintenance, and togetherness. When spring finally breaks the cold, it does not burst, it whispers. Small flowers appear among still chilled stones. Meltwater runs in silver threads along the slopes, and the damp scent of newly awakened earth fills the village. People return outdoors cautiously, sensing the gradual rebirth of every detail. Summer is brief but intense. Long days allow work without hurry, yet without pause. High pastures receive the herds. Trails come alive. Gardens flourish. It is the time to produce, to harvest, to secure provisions for the winter that will soon return. Autumn arrives with copper tones and growing quiet. Temperatures fall. The last fruits are stored. The mountains seem to take a deep breath before the great cold. Everything slows. Everything prepares. Here, each season reshapes the rhythm, the routine, and the heart of the village. Mürren holds secrets that are not found on maps, but in the quiet voices of its oldest residents. They tell that before modern trails, there were small, hidden paths along the slope, used only by shepherds who knew every fold of the mountain. These routes, now almost invisible among brush and rock, can still be found by those who walk with attention. Faint marks in the soil, alignments of stones that seem natural but reveal human passage.
On summer afternoons, some elders speak of the old alpine guides who once lived here, men who learned to read the weather with a single glance at the color of the sky. They say one of them, Johann Eichbacher, could predict avalanches simply by the distant sound of cracking ice. His wisdom became part of the oral tradition passed down as cautious counsel to newer generations. There are also stories of chalets built in improbable places where the wind seems stronger than the walls themselves. They say these chalets were raised by families seeking a wide view to track the movement of the weather, a silent way of living alongside the nature that determines everything. None of these secrets is fanciful. They are real fragments of a living past, preserved in the collective memory where the mountain has always had the final word.
In Mürren, community is more than a cluster of houses on a mountainside. It is a bond of trust woven over generations. Here, knowing your neighbor is not a formality, it is necessity, companionship, the assurance that when winter closes the trails and the wind blows too hard, there will always be someone willing to help. Human relationships are built through the quiet sharing of daily life, in the exchange of tasks, in the mutual care that sustains the village in every season. On market mornings, small local goods fill improvised tables along the main street. Fresh cheeses, warm breads, pale honey gathered in the flowered valleys. People meet there, speak slowly, comment on the weather, recall stories, trade seeds and recipes. It is in these simple encounters that community life takes shape. The alpine festivals, modest but full of meaning, bring entire families together to celebrate the natural rhythm of the seasons. There are traditional songs played on wooden instruments, circular dances, and meals prepared to be shared. Spirituality here is gentle, lived more in the contemplation of the mountain than in formal rituals, a faith in the balance between people, nature, and time. The village functions as a collective organism. Each gesture strengthens another. Each life supports the next. In Mürren, no one lives alone. Everyone lives with the mountain and with one another.
At the end of the day, when the light slowly lays itself over the cliffs and the village's last sounds retreat, Mürren returns to its primordial state, deep, almost sacred stillness. The mountain darkens into bluish silhouettes, and the valley below vanishes into mist and shadow, as if the world narrowed only to what is near, what can be touched, felt, breathed. In that moment, life here seems to gain another weight, lighter and at the same time more essential. To live in Mürren is to accept that haste has no place at altitude. It is to understand that time is shaped by the wind, that each season teaches a lesson in adaptation, that every daily gesture carries memory and continuity. Among old chalets, sloping fields, and cliffs that defy the gaze, the community learns to remain present, not in an imagined future, but in the now that breathes slowly. Simplicity is not absence, but choice. Slowness is not an obstacle, but a path. Here, the mountain reminds us that depth is born of attention, and that life reveals its austere beauty only when lived with calm. And so we conclude this suspended journey high in the Alps, where the essential is revealed in silence. In Mürren, life is not measured by speed, but by presence. If this place has spoken to your inner quiet, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and keep traveling with us through villages where time moves slowly.